welcome back, and let's make some fish tacos. It's summer, it's warm, and they're absolutely delicious, so who cares? So first thing first is we're gonna make some pickled onions. So this is 3 cups of water to 3/4 of a cup of distilled white vinegar, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and about a tablespoon and a half of salt, 3 cloves of peeled whole garlic, 1 star anise, and about 7-8 whole peppercorns. And this is going to go onto the stove and brought to a boil. And while that's coming to a boil, take a sip of your nearest alcoholic beverage because you're about to use a mandolin. So cut your onion in half, and we're going to cut this into very thin slices. You can use a knife. I'm going to use a mandolin just because it's a little faster. So once it's reached a boil, you're going to add your pickling liquid to your onions, and we're going to cover this with a plate so they don't float to the top and everything's in the liquid. This is best done the day before, or at least 6 hours before you're going to have your tacos. So we're going to make some pico de gallo in the meantime. So we're going to mince very, very finely a whole onion. You're also going to need 4 large tomatoes and about a 1/4 bunch of cilantro, salt, lime, and if you want it to be spicy, jalapeño. So we're gonna finely mince. You want this as small as you can get it, and then we're gonna start with the tomatoes. So this is gonna be a little different. I'm not sure how many of you have made pico de gallo this way before, but I find that a lot of pico de gallos are too watery. So we're gonna 1/4 our tomatoes, so cut them all in half first. We're then going to 1/4 them, and we're gonna remove the seeds and all the essentially liquid from the inside. So this is gonna create a drier pico de gallo, so you don't have all this liquid laying around, which I feel like ruins it sometimes. So here you can see 1/4, and then we're going to just cut down the inside, and we're gonna remove all those seeds. And we're gonna save that for our tomato sauce in the future, and we're gonna repeat this with all of them. So once you have all of the pulp and seeds removed, we're going to cut the tomatoes into long strips or batons, and they're about 1/4 inch thick. You want to keep it all more or less the same so that you can all have even bites of pico de gallo. So we're going to repeat this, and then from here we're going to lay them out, and we're going to small dice them or make them into cubes. Take your time because if you don't have a sharp knife, tomatoes are extremely slippery and you're going to lose a fingernail. So small dice them, and we're going to repeat this with the rest. And then we're going to add that to our onions, and we're going to use about a 1/4 bunch of cilantro, minced roughly. Now we're going to add our lime juice. This is about a half a lime worth of juice, and then we're going to season with salt. At this point, if you want it spicy, add your finely minced jalapeno. You can use pickled jalapenos as well, kind of will give it a more of a briny characteristic. And we're going to let this sit in the fridge till we're ready to eat it. This will last a couple of days. It's absolutely great, even if you don't have tacos, just with some tortilla chips. All right, now for the fish itself. You're going to want to use a white fish, something that's a little less in fat, lean, but will be flaky. So halibut, fluke, bass, tilapia is okay. You don't want anything extremely fishy, so we're just going to split these into about a 1/2 to 1/4 inch in thickness, and then a 1.5 to 1 inch in length piece. And we're going to put this in salted ice water, and this is going to cure and kind of clean the fish in terms of flavor. So it's going to add to a more firm texture. And you're going to want to do this 30 to 40 minutes before you're ready to fry anything. All right, so while that is getting cleaned and essentially curing, we're going to get some cabbage. Of course, open another beer just to be safe. And we're just going to get the cabbage, and we're going to just chiffonade this or finely slice it so you can add it to your tacos. All right, so we've drained the fish, we've removed all of the water, we've given it a little bit of a rinse, and now we're going to dry this thoroughly. So with paper towels or a cloth, add the fish so that it's one single layer, and we're going to just cover it and we're going to pat it dry. This is going to help with the batter when it comes to fry, that it will actually stick to the fish. Now for the batter itself, we're going to need flour, beer, salt, pepper, and I like to use dry chipotle powder, so just whole chipotles that have been blended into a powder. You can use paprika if you'd like. So this is going to be 1 1/4 cup of AP flour, about a ½ teaspoon of pepper, a tablespoon of salt, and a ½ teaspoon of chipotle powder. You're going to want to season this because if not, it's going to be quite bland. And then about a cup and a quarter of your beer. This can vary kind of as any dough does, just based on the weather. So I think this ended up being about a cup and a half worth of beer. So just keep that in mind and have a little bit of beer on the side. You can definitely use soda water if you don't have any beer around. And we're going to gently whisk this together so you don't remove any of those air bubbles from the beer or soda water. And slowly add in any more beer as needed until you reach the consistency of pancake batter. And you're going to want to keep this cold. So you're using a ice cold beer. This is just going to help with the frying to have a crispier batter at the end. And then just to make sure that it stays cold, we're going to add an ice cube. So I like to test the heat of my oil by dipping a little bit of the tempura right into it. And you can see that it begins to fry right away, and essentially you are ready to go. So it's about 350 degrees, and we're going to add one by one our fish after dipping it into the batter, slowly into the oil. It's going to fall to the bottom before floating up, so don't worry, it will unstick itself if you have the temperature right. And we're just going to slowly add in the fish one by one. I'm using canola oil, so you want to use a neutral oil, not olive oil. If not, it's going to, one, it's going to burn, and two, it's going to taste like olive. And you're going to want a wire rack on the side to drain your fish when it comes out of the oil. This is going to keep it crispy. This is going to take about 3 to 5 minutes, just kind of depending on the thickness of your fish. I like to warm my tortillas over a flame to get a little bit more of a burnt flavor. Totally can do this in a pan if you'd like, but I just think this adds a little bit more flavor. All right, now to the tacos themselves. So I'm going to build 2 separate tacos here. A little bit of chipotle mayo. So this is just chipotle, the adobo, the sauce itself, and some mayonnaise. So then add your fish, a little bit of avocado, and then I'm going to use the Pico de Gallo on one of them, and then I'm going to use salsa verde. So that salsa verde that was in our chicken taco recipe, I'm going to add a little bit of that. So if you want to see how that's made, go check out that video. We're going to add a little bit of the cabbage, and then, of course, those pickled onions that you started with or you made the day before. Just a little bit of those. Add a little bit of tang, a little bit of freshness to the taco itself. These are great, super easy, really not that hard. If you don't eat fish, you can definitely actually use avocados rather than fish. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and give it a like, and please subscribe. And we'll see you next week.